When a waitress turned my birthday into a nightmare, never told secrets revealed. The night was supposed to be magical. A birthday celebration filled with laughter, friends, and candles ablaze, a happy little corner of the universe. But then, everything changed. One minute I'm soaking in the joy as my friends sing happy birthday, and the next, chaos erupts like a volcano. A waitress, Emily, eyes darting like a caged animal, bursts into the room. She was trembling, her fingers twitching like something alive. Her face, pale as a ghost, lit up with urgency. It was as if she had just dashed off a movie set of horror, spilling secrets about faceless entities lurking in the shadows. I'll never forget how the laughter faded, just like that. People exchanged glances, eyebrows shot up in confusion. Why was she here? What could possibly have ripped her from her duties on a night meant for celebration? I leaned in closer, heart pounding, as she whispered something so wild that the air itself seemed to freeze. "They know everything about you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, tinged with fear. "Get out while you can." The hairs on my arms prickled. I could almost hear the piercing silence of the room, punctuated only by the muted clinking of glasses around us. Everything felt suddenly amplified: the fabric of my party dress, the scent of cake, even the music seemed to rumble in a different key. The laughter felt tinged with dread, my friends' faces transforming from joy to a mixture of disbelief and intrigue. As she spoke, I could see the devilish flicker of excitement in some eyes, the thrill of danger dancing above the din. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." "Now let's continue," her last words hung in the air like a dark cloud. I glanced at my best friend, Sarah, whose lips trembled, eyes wide with both fear and adrenaline. "What do you mean, Emily?" I asked, my voice shaky despite the storm in my heart. But Emily was backing away, retreating like a cornered animal, wild-eyed and petrified. Suddenly, the lights flickered, casting eerie shadows across the room. Was it just a lighting issue? Or something more? I turned back to see the door swing shut behind her, an echoing thud that sent chills down my spine. Whispers erupted around me, frantic discussions, heads shaking in disbelief, but I felt a pull, a stirring urge to know more. What kind of secrets could put her in that state? And what did she mean they know? The questions clawed at me with a fierce intensity. I felt a need to dig deeper, to unravel this tangled web of fear that had descended upon what was meant to be a night of joy. As the atmosphere thickened with uncertainty, I took a deep breath and made a choice that would turn my birthday into an adventure I never saw coming. The night had only just begun, and the mystery was just getting started. My breath caught in my throat as I watched my friends' faces transform before me. The sparkles of excitement turned dull, replaced by confusion and fear. The air felt thick as if someone had drawn a shroud around us, muffling our laughter, our joy. I glanced around the room, hoping to find a familiar comfort in the faces I loved, but all I saw were frightened expressions and wide eyes staring back. "Someone should go after her," Sarah finally shouted, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. She stood, shaking slightly, her fists clenched tight as if bracing for an invisible impact. Sounds of agreement rustled through our group, but I could hardly hear what they were saying. My mind raced, parsing Emily's frantic warning over and over. Why did she seem so terrified? And what had she stumbled into? "Wait," I said, cutting through the chaos. "Let's not rush into anything. We don't know what's happening." My voice quivered, but I pushed through, straining to sound confident. "We need to figure this out. Where could she have gone?" But before anyone could answer, a loud crash echoed from the back door. I spun around, heart jamming against my ribs. My legs felt like jelly, but adrenaline seized me, propelling me toward the source of the noise. There it was again, louder this time, like someone was trying to break in. I could feel the blood rushing in my ears, drowning out everything else. I glanced at Sarah. She was right behind me, eyes wide, ready to follow. I could see her determination, but also her trepidation that I stepped towards the door, the hallway dimly lit and shadowy. With every careful step, my mind flashed to all the worst scenarios, and it made my heart race faster. What if it was something evil? What if Emily had gotten caught up in something way worse than we could imagine? Just ahead, I spotted movement, a fleeting shadow dancing along the walls. I stifled a gasp. My hands were clammy, trembling as I reached for the doorknob. Could it be Emily? Or something more malevolent? I flung the door open, revealing chaos. Tables and chairs were tousled, and to my horror, I found Emily crouched behind a pillar, her shoulders quaking. Her eyes were wide, gleaming with unshed tears, and panic etched into her features. Emily! I shouted, rushing towards her. What is going on? What do you know? But before she could respond, a sharp, cold laugh echoed from the corridor. It was deep and resonated through the walls, sending chills racing down my spine. It crept into my bones like an icy wave, and my instinct screamed at me to run. "He-s coming," Emily whispered, voice shaking, eyes darting. "Who-s coming?" But she didn't answer, her gaze lost in some distant nightmare. A shattering crash far behind us made me jerk around. Whatever was coming, it was getting closer. Without thinking, I grabbed Emily's arm, yanking her to her feet. "We have to get out of here. Now." We darted back towards my friends, but the atmosphere shifted, a collective gasp swept through the room. I followed their gaze and saw a figure standing at the entrance, tall, dark, and dripping with menace. Something twisted in my gut, and as the figure stepped forward into the light, a horrifying realization washed over me. I recognized that face and my heart sank. The party I had envisioned, the night I thought was all about me, had turned into a portal of something I couldn't comprehend. Before I could scream, it spoke, the voice smooth as silk. "Ah, the birthday girl. I'd been waiting to meet you," and right then, I knew that this was only the beginning of my nightmare. What had I unleashed? The figure loomed closer, shadows swirling around it like a dark mist. My heart pounded loudly in my ears, drowning out everything else. I could feel Emily squeezing my arm, her grip betraying her fear. We were paralyzed, caught between the horror of the unknown and the desperate need to escape. "Who are you?" I demanded, trying to summon courage despite the trembling in my voice. The words came out sharp, yet brittle, like glass on the edge of breaking. The figure's lips curled into a sinister smile, revealing teeth too perfect, too white against the shadows. "You should be honored. I'm the one who makes wishes come true." The voice flowed smoothly, mocking and icy. "And I've come to collect." A chill swept through the room, like a winter wind had blown in, carrying the scent of fear and desperation. My friends shrank back into the corners of the room, eyes darting between the figure and each other, seeking some sort of reassurance that this was really happening. What do you want?" I stammered, looking at Emily, who seemed stuck in her own world of terror. "Your joy," the figure said, tilting its head as if relishing my confusion. "Tonight is just a little detour from the ordinary." It stepped forward, deliberate and slow, the light casting long shadows where there should have been none. My stomach lurched, a nauseating wave crashing over me. "Detour?" "Indeed." You see, the figure leaned closer, its breath cold against my cheek. "Wishes have a price, and you're about to learn what that means." Panic surged through me like a river bursting its banks. I glanced at my friends again. Sarah whispered something to Jack, her face pale, and he shook his head, eyes wide with disbelief. I had to do something. Without thinking, I stepped back, dragging Emily with me. "We need to leave," I shouted, breaking free from my stupor. But just as I turned to help her, the room seemed to constrict, walls closing in like the jaws of a beast. "You can't leave," the figure hissed, a malevolent glee in its eyes. "Not yet." I glanced back at Emily, desperately searching her face for clarity, for courage. "What do we do?" I asked, needing to know she still had hope too. If hearing my silent plea, Emily suddenly straightened, fear still present but overshadowed by something else, determination. We confront it, she said, finally breaking her silence, her voice steady. We can't let it take us. The figure smirked, eyes glinting with menace, as whispers echoed back from the shadows it cast. Brave choice, how interesting. Let us see if you can handle your own darkness. With a flick of its wrist, the lights in the room flickered and dimmed, plunging us into near darkness. I could barely make out my friends, huddled together, eyes wide, fear etched in shadow across their faces. But in the murky gloom, something shifted behind the figure. I caught a glimpse of shimmering images, memories, desires, nightmares, each flickering with light, then consumed by darkness. A nauseating mix of temptation and dread washed over me. Make your wish, the figure taunted, anticipation dripping from its words. Or I'll simply take what I want. The weight of those words settled on my chest. This was it, a choice was looming ahead. A wish made recklessly could plunge us deeper into this nightmare. But we couldn't stand still either, waiting would only give it more power. Emily, think. I gasped, desperation clawing at the edges of my sanity. What can we wish for? As silence enveloped us, the darkness grew thicker, pressing against my mind. Nothing seemed safe, not even hope, and then, Emily's eyes widened, recalling something from that frantic moment before. The secret, she whispered. The one I didn't want to tell anyone. What secret? I pressed, but the figure chuckled, as if it had all the answers. Ah, yes, secrets hide the darkest truths. It stepped forward, and for a fleeting moment, I glimpsed a fractured soul within the shadows, a reflection of all our hidden fears. Will you hear it, or will you run? It taunted, the air thickening with tension. I swallowed hard, feeling the tight knot of dread. This was a choice that could change everything, the very core of what I thought I knew. But what was the truth behind that secret? As Emily prepared to share her revelation, the lights flickered back on, illuminating the figure's wide grin once more. In that bright moment, I realized, whatever was about to be unveiled could either save us or damn us all. Was I ready to know the truth? Would it open the door or close it forever? My heart raced as everything hung in the balance, a breath away from disaster. What lay ahead could reveal the ultimate peril or the key to our escape. Emily took a step forward, her brave determination contrasting sharply with the rising tide of dread in the room. You want to hear the secret? She asked, her voice steady yet laced with uncertainty. Fine. But you have to promise we won't regret it. Promises mean nothing, the figure sneered, leaning closer, shadows swirling eagerly around it. But I'm all ears. Dive into the deep end, let me know what you've kept hidden. The tension was suffocating. My pulse thundered in my ears. Around me, my friends held their breaths, eyes wide open in shock. Time stretched, each second dragging against the taut fabric of our fear. I could feel the electricity in the air. We were teetering on the edge of fate. Emily inhaled deeply, combing through the fragments of her thoughts. A few months ago, she started, her voice faltering initially before gaining strength. I found something, a journal my grandmother kept. It's about a pact. A pact? I interrupted, grappling with the intensity of the moment. What kind of pact? Before Emily could answer, the figure edged closer, whispering, family secrets. Those are always worth exploring, aren't they? The hidden shadows that dance in daylight tell us, dear Emily. It was about wishes, she continued, the urgency of her words spilling forth. My grandmother made a wish when she was young, but it came at a price. She didn't just lose her joy, she lost pieces of herself. Pieces she tried to fight back. It's all in there. She gestured wildly toward the walls, now seemingly closing in as if the space itself was alive. Listening, the figure chuckled, its laughter echoing like icy wind through the room. How exquisite your grandmother's folly. You think freedom from your past will save you? That breaking the cycle will spare you from fate? It only binds you tighter. I felt a shiver run down my spine. What do you mean? The more you resist the darkness, it said, grinning wider, the more it consumes you. Embrace it, Let me help you turn wishes into power. Power? I repeated, my mind racing. Or a trap? Emily shook her head, and determination flickered in her eyes like a candle in the wind. We can't be like her, she said firmly, speaking to all of us. I won't make the same mistakes. We break it whatever the price may be. Ah, the naivete of youth. The figure pulled back slightly, almost theatrically, as if enjoying our struggle. What if the price is too steep? What if all that remains of joy is a dark void, just waiting for you to slip? The room darkened again, shadows entwining around us like vines, suffocating and chilling. A sense of impending doom wrapped over me, sticking to my skin like ice. I could see it, Emily's courageous stance flickering as the air thickened, doubt creeping in. What do we do? I urged, frantically looking to my friends. They were locked in a battle of their own, fear against courage, hope against despair, but before anyone could respond, the figure pointed toward Emily, and a shroud of darkness descended upon her. What say you, sweet one? A wish to alter fate? Or to forfeit your friends to the shadows instead? The implications hung in the air, heavy and palpable. The weight of her decisions weighed down on her like a leaden blanket. Each breath felt like a gamble, and I could see the fear flashing in her eyes. Emily! I shouted, but the darkness pulled at her, coaxing her to surrender a wish. The figure leaned closer, wrapping its shadowy tendrils around her. It's a simple choice. Or should I make it easy for you? Don't you dare! I shouted, lunging forward, but the darkness snapped like a whip, pushing me back. Pain shot through my chest as I realized that our fate hung by the thinnest thread. Emily's mind would be tested. She was the key to either confinement or freedom. Will you wish for them to be saved, or do you have another desire? Urged the figure, its eyes glimmering with a wicked delight. No! I cried, feeling my heart race in panic. This can't be how it ends. The tension swelled as Emily's eyes darted among us, and a thought struck like lightning. What if the secret went deeper? Hidden memories clawed at my mind, clicking into place, but was I prepared to face it? Would I dare to unearth what all of us left in the shadows? Emily! I gasped, awakening with realization. You're stronger than it knows. What could she reveal that would save us, if only she had the courage to wish differently? Could she break the curse of the pact, or would we lose her forever to the figure's malevolence? The shadows writhed like living creatures, hungry for Emily's doubt, her hesitation. My heart raced as I watched the tendrils of darkness tighten around her. I could see it in her eyes, conflict ions swirling violently as she teetered between our safety and her desire to break free from the chains of her family's past. Emily, listen! I shouted, my voice slicing through the heavy atmosphere. You don't have to give in. Remember the stories in the journal. Your grandmother struggled but fought back. You can too. The figure pulsed with delight, its crooked grin expanding into something grotesque. Ah, the fool's hopes and dreams. How quaint, but tell me, what will she choose? A chance at redemption, or the desire for something more? Maybe it's not about wishing for salvation, I said, desperation bleeding through my voice. Maybe she needs to wish for strength. Strength to face this darkness, for all of us. Emily's expression shifted, fear replaced with a flicker of rebellious determination. You think you know what I want? What I really need? She squared her shoulders, pushing back against the shadows. Who says I need to follow the path my grandmother paved? Good, I breathed, my chest filling with hope. Just fight it. Don't let it win. The figure scoffed, snickering mockingly. Oh, naive children. Desire is such a treacherous thing. What you want can bury you just as easily as your fears. It paused, letting the darkness slither even closer to Emily, who continued to grapple with the weight of choice. So tell me, sweet child, what do you truly wish for? To save your little friends, or for something more enticing? The room trembled with her decision, the air thickened with every silent moment. Emily swallowed hard, looking at each of us in turn, seeing the love, the fear, the hope we all carried. The figure's laughter echoed, mingling with the hurried breaths of my friends. It was a cacophony of despair. "It's not just about wishes," she finally declared, her voice steadying. "It's about breaking this cycle. I refuse to let this darkness control me, control us." As those defiant words left her lips, the shadows recoiled, almost hissing in anger. The room filled with a brilliant light, forcing the darkness to retreat. I gripped the edge of the table, the surge of energy flowing through Emily, lifting her from the darkness's grasp. "Let us take back what was stolen," she shouted, embracing newfound courage. "No more pacts. No more sacrifices." But just as I felt hope blossoming, the figure's expression darkened. "You think this is over?" it hissed. "Rebellion brings a price, and the consequences will be biblical. Each wish leaves a mark. You will regret this. Mark my words." A violent tremor coursed through the room as the shadows recoiled and shifted. I could feel the walls pulse, breathing in sync with the mounting fury of the figure. It threw its hands outward, and out of the depths of despair, a vortex of swirling darkness erupted, snatching at us. "Run!" Emily screamed, and the moment shattered into chaos. We stumbled backward, falling into fleeting seconds of panic. The air crackled as we darted towards the door, the shadows clawing at our heels, shrieking threats of doom. "Find the journal," I yelled over the chaos. "It holds the truth. We can stop this." "Do you really think the past will save you?" the figure taunted, its voice echoing ominously. "Folly leads to despair." As we breached the threshold into the outside world, a sense of urgency took hold. The shadows clawed at the edges of daylight, drifting behind us like a dark storm, and I knew, with chilling certainty, that this was just the beginning. "Emily, we need to decipher that journal," I said breathlessly. "The key lies in whatever truth your grandmother fought against." With the storm of shadows thundering closer, I could see Emily's resolve strengthen, but an unsettling question hung in the air. What other secrets were hidden in the journal, waiting to be unearthed? The streets felt alive with our desperate footsteps, pounding against the pavement as the shadows threatened to consume everything behind us. The light of the world shined briefly, but the air steadily grew colder, numbing the exhilaration of our escape. Chasing away the darkness took more than courage. It required us to uncover mysteries that felt too heavy to bear. "Where do we go?" Emily's voice shivered as we skidded around a corner, lungs burning from panic while the looming shadows whispered our names. She looked at me, uncertainty flickering like a dying flame in her eyes. "Let us head to the old library. If the journal can help us fight this, it might be hiding somewhere there," I suggested, gripping her hand to steady her as we moved. We dashed past familiar buildings that now felt haunted, shadows clinging to their seams as though they were eager to swallow us whole. "We have to hurry," I urged, glancing back to see the shadows swirling fiercely, growing more defined, more alive. They were in a frenzy, hungry for our fear, our hesitation. The echoing laughter of that figure curled around me, mocking, taunting. Its presence was inescapable that we burst through the library doors, and the bell above rang out like a warning cry. Dust motes danced in the sunbeams cutting through the darkened corners. The stillness inside was deceptive, a false promise of safety. I knew better. "It's gotta be here," Emily muttered, scanning the endless rows of shelves. She moved like a flame seeking air, drawn to the stacks of forgotten tomes where her family history lay wrapped in enigma and dread. My grandmother's journal. My attention snapped to the bookshelf adjoining us. There it stood, heavy and dark, a ledger of her family's past. But before I could shout out, the ground trembled beneath us. A repulsive howl echoed from the back of the library, where the shadows had shifted, gathering strength. They were creeping forward, moving like a tide. "Emily," I called, urgency flooding my voice. "This way." I gestured to the back hallway where the whispers seemed to grow restless as we pushed through the stacks, the weight of the journal's truth heavy in my mind. I glimpsed up the dim corridor as books tumbled from their places, as if disturbed by an unseen hand. The whispers grew into a deafening roar. "Make it stop," Emily cried, covering her ears, but the sound was relentless, clawing its way through our minds. A rush of cold air sent shivers racing through me, and I caught a glimpse of a figure in the shadows, its eyes ablaze with an insatiable hunger. "Don't look back. Just keep running," I yelled, certain now that the storm of darkness was on our heels. The library twisted and turned like a labyrinth with every movement. I felt the oppressive weight of the figures behind us, screaming out our doubts, tax for defiance that we had just bought dearly. As we reached the end of the hallway, an alcove opened up lined with ancient shelves. One particular tome glistened in the darkness. Was that? Yes. The journal. "Grab it," I shouted, reaching for it while darkness writhed and lashed out. Mere inches away, with a trembling hand, Emily clutched the journal, its cover warm against her freezing skin. But as she drew it close, the echoes of the shadows rose to a peak, almost a cacophony mixed with dread. "It wants it," I realized with mounting panic. The shadows surged, hungry as they lunged toward us. The figure's laughter erupted, filling every corner of the library. "Your fate is sealed," it shrieked, filling the air with growls of despair and yearning. Emily locked eyes with me, fear giving way to something brighter, something fierce. "Let us open it together," she said, her voice steady, but as we prepared ourselves to uncover the secrets within, a fresh realization washed over me. What if the journal contained a truth so terrifying that breaking the cycle would ultimately consume us? The shadows closed in tighter. What lay ahead was terrifying, but we had no choice. The journal felt alive in Emily's hands, pulsing as if it were a breathing thing, filled with the weight of legacy and danger. I could hear the shadows thrumming against the library walls, a syncopated heartbeat that matched the terror clawing at my throat. The laughter of that figure warped the air around us, shifting from mocking to menacing with every harsh note. "Now!" I shouted, and with shaking hands, we cracked open the journal. The pages were yellowed, and the ink seemed to shimmer beneath the dim light, revealing handwritten entries that swirled with urgency and dread. Emily's eyes darted across the words, while my heart raced, anticipating what cosmic horror awaited us in those lines. "This is my grandmother's handwriting," she gasped. She wrote about the shadows." I leaned in closer, reading fragments. The words spoke of rituals, dark pacts, and an entity that thrived on fear. Each line unwound our reality, feeding the growing storm outside. "Listen to this." Emily's voice trembled with a horror I could feel resonating deep in my bones. "She describes a gateway, a way to banish them, but it involves a sacrifice." "Sacrifice?" Panic bubbled up in my chest. "What kind of sacrifice?" The laughter from the figure grew louder, echoing off the library's cold stone walls. It was a sound taunting our every move, as if the shadows were poised to pounce. "We have to find the passage," Emily urged, tearing through the pages frantically. Her fingers grazed the writing, and in that instant, everything turned to ice. "Emily!" I shouted, the urgency in my voice rising. "Don't!" It was too late. Shadows erupted from all sides, swirling greedily toward us, and I could feel the pull of their malevolence. My pulse raced as the warm glow of the journal flickered, caught between the light of hope and the cold grip of despair. Why didn't she ever tell me? Emily choked out, tears spilling down her cheeks, reflecting the dim light. Why would she hide this? It was a question that struck like a cold wind, filling the air between us. Emily had been defending her family legacy, a narrative wrapped tightly in lies. What had they all sacrificed? Because she wanted to protect you. I shouted back, both of us reeling against the pull of the shadows. But now before I could finish, the shadows lunged at us, stretching out menacing hands like claws, determined to pull us into their depths. I grabbed Emily's wrist and yanked her close, pressing the journal against her chest, as if it could shield us from the impending doom. Then I remembered a detail from the frantic words. "Emily, you need to read the last page." She turned desperately, but the shadows were thickening, blocking our escape. The figure in the darkness loomed, eyes glowing maliciously, speaking in a voice that chilled my blood. "You can't escape what you are, child. Your fate is entwined with the past." The journal slipped from Emily's hands as she turned, caught between the decision to face our potential doom or reveal a truth that could tear us apart. In the blink of an eye, the final page crinkled free, revealing an incantation, words of power, of binding. I think I can stop it." Emily gasped. "No. If it requires," I held my breath, realizing the weight of her words. But the shadows surged closer, a dark tide determined to take what they felt was theirs. The laughter morphed into a cacophony that pressed in on us, drowning out our thoughts. "Do it," I urged, the fear for her life strangling my resolve. Emily stared at me, a storm of emotions in her gaze. "We need to decide now." And in that agonizing moment of chaos, when the shadows clawed at the air and the journal pulsed like a heartbeat, I knew that the truth we were about to summon could either break the cycle or seal our fate. With the weight of 1,000 secrets, a choice hung in the balance. Would we unearth the darkest truth together or become lost in the shadows forever? Time hung suspended, the only sound the howling terror closing in around us, and then a crack appeared in the air. A flicker of light. But would we dare to step through? The crack split the air like lightning, sending shivers through my spine. Light, bright and fierce, seeped into the dark corners of the library, momentarily pushing back the shadows. I could almost feel the cold breath of the darkness step back, as if afraid of what the light might reveal. "Now!" Emily shouted, her voice filled with a newfound determination. "We have to read it." I gripped her arm tighter, my heart racing. The shadows were restless, swirling and shifting, almost as if they were alive, waiting for us to make a move. "What if we make things worse?" I whispered, the weight of fear hanging heavy between us. "We can't just stand here," she snapped back, fear fueling her resolve. "If my grandmother sacrificed something to protect me, I have to know what it is." Her gaze was fierce, lit with a fire I had never seen before. The flicker of light turned into a beam, illuminating the jagged words. The shadows contorted, writhing like angry snakes eager to reclaim what was rightfully theirs. "Read it," I urged, knowing it was our only chance. Time was slipping through our fingers, and each heartbeat seemed to mock our hesitation. Emily clutched the journal, scrambling to find the last page again. Her fingers traced the words like a lifeline, each syllable a desperate hope. As she began to chant the incantation, the air crackled. Power surged between us, filling the room with a tangible energy that pushed against the clawing shadows. The laughter of the figure changed, growing more sinister, drowning the words. "You don't know what you're doing," it screeched, voice echoing like thunder. The shadows became a black whirlwind, stretching toward us, eager to snatch us back into the void. "No!" Emily shouted, her voice rising above the cacophony. "We're not afraid of you." The light from the journal intensified, pulsating in rhythm with her words. I pressed my back against the wall, fighting to remain upright against the force pulling me toward the darkness. Emily's resolve flowed through me, a warm current against the chill of impending doom. And then, like the snap of a rubber band, something responded to her command. The shadows hesitated. A thin barrier seemed to form at the edge of the light, holding them back momentarily. Emily's confidence surged, her voice gaining strength with every word. "What is it doing?" I gasped, watching in awe as the light pushed back, revealing hidden passages along the walls of the library. In every beam, there were more entries, more secrets waiting to be discovered. This isn't just about the shadows, Emily realized, eyes wide. It's about our family. The history they never shared. The sacrifices they made. "Then let us end it," I said, the feeling of urgency clawing at my chest. "Together." The shadows pulsed with rage, a feral growl filling the space as they lunged for us once more. We were at the heart of the storm now, each syllable we uttered entwining us deeper with whatever ancient force we were dealing with. "Now. One last time." Emily shouted, her breath a fierce whisper as she continued to chant, simultaneously pushing the shadows back. I could see the walls vibrating, alive with energy, as the journal glowed brighter, filled with the essence of the age-old ritual. Suddenly, Emily froze mid-chant, eyes flickering with fear and realization. "The sacrifice, it could be me." "No!" I yelled, my voice breaking. You can't, but the shadows surged again, and Emily's voice cut through. It might be the only way. If I am my grandmother's descendant, my blood might be the key. Panic engulfed me. What if it doesn't work? What if I want to let them take either of us? It's time to fight this. The shadows roared, angry against the light. I could only stand helplessly, heart racing as the impossible choices flipped through my mind. And then, from the dark corners of the library, a voice spoke. Are you willing to face the truth, or will you let your fears consume you? The question hung heavy as the darkness seethed around us, pressing in, leaving no easy escape. Emily's eyes met mine, fear mingling with an unshakable resolve. Would she truly go through with it? In the face of the unknown, would she risk everything for a chance to end this nightmare? As the shadows craved what they thought was rightfully theirs, the choice was made. But would we dare to confront the truth together? The air thickened, suspense palpable as Emily stepped closer to the light, ready to embrace whatever destiny awaited, but would the darkness allow it? The shadows hesitated, quivering as if they sensed the shift in the air. Emily's resolve sparked a strange kind of courage in me, a feeling I didn't know I had. But at the same time, a deep fear burrowed in my stomach. Did she really understand the risks? Did I? As Emily's eyes locked onto the dark expanse, something primal kicked in. It was as if she was more than just a girl in a library. She was the very descendant of the bloodline that haunted this place, the key to something ancient and terribly powerful. Emily! I shouted, desperate for her to reconsider. You don't have to do this. But her face was set, fierce and determined. I want to let the shadows win. Not again. With a swift motion, she raised the journal higher, and the light radiated like a flare, igniting tendrils of shadow that dared to come close. The laughter morphed into sobs, wild yet sorrowful, echoing off the worn shelves. They were losing their hold. Just keep reading. I urged her, trying to drown out the creeping fear. Keep the light strong. Emily's voice rang out clear against the chaos, a beacon in the encroaching darkness. By the blood that binds us, by the truth we seek, we command you to be free. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled as if stung. A gust of wind exploded in the room, scattering dust and closing the creaky pages of nearby books. I could barely keep my feet. My heart pounded in rhythm with the incantation, each word striking the very fabric of the library around us. Then, just as it seemed like we might win, the shadows retaliated. They surged forward, relentless and fierce. I could feel their icy fingers brushing against my skin, seeking my very essence, pulling me toward madness. No! I screamed, but it sounded so small against the dark. I reached out for Emily, my pulse quickening as I felt the battle shift. The shadows howled, an unearthly roar that shook the walls. You think you can just take back what is ours? You know nothing, ignorant children. Fear wrapped around me again, squeezing my chest. The weight of the voice crushed my spirit, making me feel helpless. What had we awakened here? Emily! I cried one last time, desperation coursing through me as I stumbled closer to her. Her power flickered, any moment could change everything. I know what I have to do. She shouted, pulling in a deep breath as she prepared for the climactic end. I could see the moment of resolution wash over her, an acceptance of what needed to happen. With a final surge of energy, she shouted, "We will not be consumed." The light exploded, enveloping us in a cocoon of dazzling brilliance. It blinked sharp and vivid, temporarily drowning out the dark dread, but then we heard it, a chilling whisper creeping through the brightness. You think you can banish us? You don't know the price of what you seek. The light around us shimmered, dimming as the shadows clawed at the edges, whispering secrets that twisted like vines in my mind. What price? I gasped, my voice trembling with fear and curiosity. Emily's expression faltered for just a heartbeat, uncertainty lacing her eyes as she considered the cost they were hinting at. No, the shadows pressed harder, anger radiating from them, intent on drawing us into their dark embrace. You can banish us, but this sacrifice, it requires blood of the innocent. The words landed like heavy stones. My throat tightened as dread cascaded through me. Should we flee? Could we even escape? No. Emily breathed, shaking her head. We can't allow that. We're not innocent if we let fear dictate our actions. The shadows simmered, circling us like a storm, waiting for our next move. Emily readjusted her grip on the journal, her determination swirling with fear, creating a hurricane of emotion. The decision had to be made now. Would she take the final leap, risking everything? As the shadows howled like a banshee in fury, the question echoed through the library, holding all our fates captive. Would we pay the terrible price? In that moment, with darkness swirling around us and the impossible choice looming ahead, I could only wonder if we had the strength to face whatever came next. Emily's voice cut through the darkness like a lifeline. No, she cried, shaking off the shadow's grasp. We won't lose ourselves. The light pulsed around her, but the shadows circled like predatory wolves, creeping forward, whispering threats laced with ancient malice that I felt fear pushing down on my chest. The shadows weren't just hungry for us, they craved our despair. What if it takes everything? I shouted, wanting to break through the suffocating tension that sought to pull us under. We can't let it. Emily replied, fire igniting in her eyes. She turned back to the journal, a source of potential salvation and dread. No matter the price, she continued firmly, we'll face whatever truth it brings because we have to stop this. The figure in the shadows let out a terrible laugh, tinged with menace. You think you can face the truth? You don't know what you're inviting in. Its voice echoed with a cold certainty that sent tremors down my spine. But doubt was a chain we couldn't afford. We had to act. We had to break this cycle. With a deep breath, Emily grabbed my hand, squeezing it with resolve. Help me read. Together we can drive it back. We held tight to each other, pushing away the terror clawing at our minds. By the blood that binds us, by the truth we seek, we command you to be free. Emily's voice rose, gaining strength and unity, each word resonating against the walls of the library, shaking the air. The shadows recoiled as if caught in a current of strength we hadn't yet understood. That I watched closely as tears streamed down Emily's face, both fierce and beautiful. Never again. We won't perpetuate the cycle. The shadows cringed, and in that moment, they shifted, contorting into forms that writhed with their own fear, revealing faces hidden in the abyss, all the voices that disappeared, sacrificed to keep the darkness alive. But as we grew stronger, the figure's laughter persisted, booming through the library. You think defiance will shield you? You are merely children playing on the grave of history. Enough. I shouted, pulling on the collective energy brewing within us. As we chanted, the light from the journal exploded into a fiery glow that burst forth like a sun-breaking dawn. The shadows screeched, a cacophony of lost souls battling against the power they feared. With each word we spoke, we felt ancient weights begin to lift. Is that all you have? I shouted. I will not let you take Emily or any of us. We will reclaim our power. The shadows began to pull back, eroding under the intensity of our words and the warmth of the glowing journal. You think you can fight the darkness? They hissed, but the menace within them shook, no longer unfaltering but desperate. The truth belongs to us. Emily roared, her unwavering spirit shining brighter than I could have hoped. We shape our own fate. Suddenly, the shadows erupted, swirling violently, and I feared that they might envelop us again, but Emily stood firm. The edges of her form shimmered, light pouring from her like radiant sunlight over the horizon, then clarity struck. The sacrifice. I gasped. Emily, the sacrifice is an act of courage, not blood. In that moment, as her determination surged, she took a step back, a deliberate choice reflecting her strength. I wish for the truth, she said strongly. And I will not swap my darkness for another S. The shadows quaked, but they were weakening. No, the figure's voice twisted in rage, as our united will outshone the dark storm. You're defying your heritage. Heritage doesn't define me. Emily shouted, her stance like that of a warrior. Tonight is mine. She thrust the journal forward, the binding vibrating with potential. With a final flourish of light, we unleashed a wave of brilliance that shattered the shadows, rippling through the library like shockwaves. The figure shrieked, recoiling in horror as the light engulfed it, revealing the horror it truly was, flesh and bone lost to greed and despair. The laughter transformed into wails of anguish, fading into whispers before disappearing completely. As the around us shifted, I grasped Emily's hand tightly. Did we win? My voice trembled, uncertainty clung, but there was no darkness suffocating us. Breathless, Emily turned to look at me, amazement brimming in her eyes. I think we did. The shadows receded, and outside the library door, the world was bathed in soft morning light. Fresh air spilled into the once dark room, washing away remnants of terror, as if a weight had been lifted. We shared a moment, the warm sunlight illuminating what it meant to break free. It didn't end in sacrifice, rather it ended in strength, in the truth that can illuminate even the darkest of fears. By facing it together, there was now a bridge to a future unwritten. Thank you, I whispered to Emily, awe swelling in my chest. You were brave. No, she corrected gently. We were brave. Together. With a renewed sense of hope, we stepped out into the world, leaving behind the whispers and weight of shadows. But deep down, we held the knowledge that we had emerged victorious, not just over the darkness, but over the weight of history it sought to bind us to. And just like that, a new chapter began. Now, don't leave yet. You need to subscribe now to catch the next exclusive stories. You want to miss what is coming next? Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Every click counts, and remember to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about what just happened. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Keep the light shining bright.